Let me tell you something fascinating about the human mind. It's the most powerful tool you will ever own, yet it doesn't come with a manual. And because most people never learn how to use it, they end up being used by it. See, the mind can be your best friend or your worst enemy. It can build empires or destroy dreams. The difference: who's in charge? Now, let me ask you, when was the last time you gave your mind an order and it obeyed? Most people can't even get their mind to wake up early in the morning, let alone control their thoughts during the day. But here's the truth: if you can't control your mind, you'll never control your life. So, how do you begin? Let's talk about it. First, think of your mind as a garden. Whatever you plant, ideas, beliefs, habits, that's what will grow. If you plant seeds of doubt, don't be surprised when weeds of worry show up. If you plant seeds of faith, discipline, and gratitude, you'll harvest peace and progress. Let me tell you something about the mind. It's a lot like a garden. And just like a garden, it doesn't care what you plant. It will return whatever you give it. If you plant good seeds, you'll get a good harvest. If you plant weeds, you'll still get a harvest, just not the one you want. That's how powerful the mind is. It's always working, always producing, always growing something. The only question is, what are you planting? Now, here's what's fascinating. Most people spend more time taking care of their hair than they do their mind. They wake up, brush their hair, brush their teeth, but they don't brush out their thoughts. And that's where all the trouble begins. The mind, left unattended, will start growing weeds of worry, doubt, fear, and confusion. You don't even have to try. Just neglect it for a few days and watch what happens. Negative thoughts are like wild weeds. They grow by themselves. But success, happiness, peace, those are flowers, and flowers must be planted, watered, and protected. Imagine this: every thought you think is a seed. Every belief you hold is a tree. Every action you take is a harvest. The problem is, some people are planting seeds of limitation and wondering why they're harvesting frustration. They say, "I can't do that. I'm not good enough. Things never work out for me." That's like planting poison in your own garden and then being surprised when nothing beautiful grows. The soil doesn't judge the seed. It just obeys the law of growth. Whatever you put in, it multiplies. So if you plant doubt, you'll reap more doubt. If you plant faith, you'll reap confidence. It's all in what you choose to plant. Here's the great secret. Your mind doesn't care which seeds you plant. It will grow whatever you decide. So if you want a better life, start planting better thoughts. If you want peace, plant understanding. If you want success, plant discipline. If you want joy, plant gratitude. Don't wait for someone else to come and change your garden. It's your responsibility to tend it every single day. Now, some people say, "But I can't control every thought." True, but you can control what stays. You might not stop a bird from flying over your head, but you can stop it from building a nest in your hair. Thoughts are like that. They come and go, but the ones you allow to stay, those take root. Those shape your life. So when a negative thought shows up, don't invite it in for tea. Let it pass. Replace it with something better. That's how you train your mind. Every morning, you get the chance to plant. Every book you read, every word you speak, every person you listen to, each is a seed. If you start your day with news, gossip, or complaints, you're planting weeds before breakfast. But if you begin your day with something positive, something that builds you, you're feeding your garden with sunlight. Choose your seeds carefully. Your future is hidden in them. And let me tell you, this isn't theory. This is the law of the mind. You can't plant laziness and expect success. You can't plant bitterness and expect peace. You can't plant excuses and expect progress. Life doesn't work that way. The garden doesn't lie. It gives you back exactly what you've sown, multiplied. Sometimes people say, but my environment is bad, my circumstances are tough. Well, so is rocky soil, but a skilled gardener still finds a way. The secret is to keep planting, keep watering, keep pruning. If you don't like what's growing, don't curse the garden. Change the seeds. A disciplined mind can bloom even in a rough season, but an untended mind can decay even in perfect conditions. That's the power of awareness. You see, controlling your mind doesn't start with fighting the weeds. It starts with planting better seeds. You can't remove darkness by pushing it away. You bring in light. The same goes for thoughts. Don't just fight negativity, replace it. Think of something good. Speak something true. Act on something positive. Slowly, the weeds will fade because they can't live in the light of conscious attention. And here's the best part. Once you learn to tend your mental garden, you'll start to enjoy the process. You'll wake up every day knowing that your mind is your greatest asset. You'll guard it like treasure. You'll become selective about what enters it because you'll understand that every thought carries a consequence. Your mind will start to work for you, not against you. And when that happens, your life will begin to change quietly but surely. The secret isn't out there somewhere, it's right between your ears. Treat your mind like a garden. Plant wisely, water daily, and keep the weeds out. Because the harvest of your life depends on the seeds you plant today. Discipline is the gatekeeper of the mind. It's the guard standing at the door, deciding what gets in and what stays out. Without discipline, the mind becomes an open field where anything can wander through: fear, worry, laziness, doubt. If you don't take charge, they'll walk right in, sit down, and start running the place. But with discipline, you set the rules. You decide what deserves space in your mental home. Now, let's be honest. Discipline isn't glamorous. It's not loud or dramatic. It's quiet, steady, sometimes uncomfortable. But it's the difference between chaos and control. Discipline is saying no when it's easier to say yes. It's choosing to think right even when the wrong thoughts feel natural. It's the ability to stop yourself from doing what doesn't serve you and push yourself toward what does. Picture your mind as a great hall with doors wide open. Thoughts are constantly knocking. Some are friends, others are intruders. Discipline is the guard who checks their name before letting them in. Without him, the place gets crowded. You can't think clearly because too many voices are talking at once. But when the guard stands firm, only the thoughts that build, strengthen, and serve you are allowed entry. That's how you protect your peace. It starts with small things. Discipline begins in moments that seem unimportant. When you decide to get up early instead of sleeping in, that's mental control. When you put away distractions to focus on your work, that's discipline. When you resist the urge to complain, that's strength. Each act of discipline trains the mind to obey, to follow your lead instead of dragging you around like a wild horse. The problem is, most people have never learned how to say no to themselves. They give in to every feeling, every impulse, every passing emotion. If they feel lazy, they stay lazy. If they feel afraid, they stop trying. But here's the truth. Feelings are not commands, they're suggestions. Discipline is what decides whether to act on them or not. You can't always control what you feel, but you can control what you do about it. And that's the beginning of freedom. Every day, you have two choices. Let your mind run you, or you run your mind. The first leads to regret, the second to growth. A man without discipline is like a city without walls, open to attack, vulnerable to every passing temptation. But a disciplined man has strength. He's not easily shaken because he knows his boundaries. He knows what he stands for, what he allows, and what he refuses to tolerate. That's power. Discipline also means managing what enters your mind. The books you read, the shows you watch, the people you associate with, all of them are seeds planted in your mental soil. Without discipline, you'll let anyone plant anything. But when you stand guard, you choose. You decide, this helps me grow, this doesn't. That's how you build a strong, focused mind, by filtering what you feed it. Now, discipline isn't about being harsh with yourself. It's about being honest. It's recognizing that the easy way usually leads to a hard life, while the disciplined way leads to freedom. Think about it. Discipline may demand effort now, but it saves you pain later. Neglect is the opposite. Neglect feels easy now, but it always costs more in the end. If you neglect your health, you pay with weakness. If you neglect your goals, you pay with regret. If you neglect your thoughts, you pay with confusion. Discipline is the price you pay for control. Neglect is the price you pay for chaos. Let me give you an example. Suppose you decide to control what you think in the morning. Instead of scrolling your phone, you sit quietly and feed your mind something positive. Perhaps a few lines from a good book or a few minutes of reflection on your goals. That small act of discipline sets the tone for the entire day. You've trained your mind that you're in charge. You've reminded it who gives the orders. And the more you repeat it, the stronger that control becomes. Here's the key: discipline compounds. Every time you choose control over impulse, you build inner strength. Each decision adds a brick to the foundation of your character. Soon, your mind starts to obey automatically. It begins to follow your commands without resistance. That's when life gets exciting, when your mind becomes your servant instead of your master. But the opposite is just as true. Every time you give in to laziness, fear, or distraction, you weaken your mental muscles. You teach your mind that it doesn't have to listen. It learns that your word doesn't matter. And that's a dangerous lesson to teach yourself. If you can't trust your own commands, you lose faith in your ability to change. So start small. Discipline doesn't demand perfection, it demands consistency. Just begin with one area. Wake up when you say you will. Read something that feeds your growth. Refuse to entertain a negative thought for more than a few seconds. Over time, those little victories add up. They create momentum. And momentum, once built, is hard to stop. Remember, the gatekeeper never sleeps. Every day, you must show up for the job. Every thought that knocks on your door, ask it, do you serve my purpose, or do you steal my peace? If it's the latter, shut the door. Protect your mind, train it, guard it. Because a disciplined mind doesn't wander, it follows direction. And when your mind follows direction, your life begins to follow purpose. Awareness is the beginning of mastery. You can't change what you don't see, and you can't control what you don't understand. Most people live their whole lives running on autopilot. They react to everything: the weather, the news, their emotions, other people's moods, and they never stop to ask, why do I think the way I think? Why do I feel the way I feel? Awareness is when you finally step back and watch your own mind at work. It's when you begin to notice the patterns that have been running your life without your permission. Think about it. The mind is always talking. It never stops. It's like a radio that's always on, sometimes playing music, sometimes static, sometimes noise. Awareness is learning how to listen without getting lost in the noise. It's that moment when you say, wait a minute, I just caught myself thinking that I'm not good enough. Who said that? Where did that come from? That moment of recognition is powerful because once you become aware, you can choose. You're no longer a prisoner of the thought. You become the observer. You see, most people aren't living their lives. They're living their habits. They're repeating the same thoughts, the same reactions, the same excuses every single day, thinking that it's all happening to them. But it's not. It's happening through them. Awareness breaks that cycle. It allows you to interrupt the automatic and replace it with intention. You can't fix a pattern you never notice. But once you see it, you have the power to change it. It's like driving a car. You can't steer with your eyes closed. Awareness is what opens your eyes. Without it, you'll crash into the same problems over and over again, wondering why life feels stuck. But when you start observing your own thoughts, you begin to see the road clearly. You start noticing the signs. When fear shows up, when doubt whispers, when excuses start to grow roots. Awareness gives you the choice to turn the wheel in a better direction. Every great change begins with that one moment of observation. When you pause and say, this is me getting angry again, or this is me talking myself out of progress. That small act is the first step toward freedom. You don't have to fight the thought or judge yourself for it. You just need to see it. Because when you see it, you separate yourself from it. You realize that you are not your thoughts. You are the thinker behind them. And that changes everything. The truth is, the mind is sneaky. It hides behind excuses. It disguises fear as logic. It whispers, you're not ready, or you can do it later. And it sounds reasonable. Awareness catches those voices in the act. It shines a light on them. It says, I see you. And the moment you see them, they lose their power because the mind's tricks only work in the dark. The light of awareness exposes them. Now, awareness doesn't come overnight. It's a practice. It's built in moments of quiet, when you slow down long enough to observe what's going on inside. That's why reflection is so valuable. Take a few minutes every day to look back and ask, what did I think today? How did I feel? What did I allow to control me? That kind of daily awareness will teach you more about yourself than 1,000 motivational speeches. Because when you understand your own patterns, you begin to steer your life with intention instead of impulse. Sometimes, awareness comes through pain. You lose something, you fail at something, and suddenly you wake up. You see where you went wrong. Pain has a way of forcing awareness. It stops you in your tracks and makes you look at what you've been ignoring. Don't resent those moments. They're gifts. They show you what needs to change. Awareness born out of pain can become the wisdom that shapes your future. And remember, awareness is not just about the negative. It's also about recognizing what's good. Notice when you feel grateful, when you're focused, when you're growing. Awareness magnifies the positive as much as it exposes the negative. The more you notice your best moments, the more you reinforce them. You begin to repeat the thoughts and actions that serve you. That's how awareness becomes strength. Some people go through life pointing fingers, blaming circumstances, people, or fate. But awareness teaches responsibility. It says, I'm not the victim here. I'm the one who decides what meaning this moment has. When you reach that point, You stop being reactive and start being creative. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what can I learn from this? That shift in awareness transforms struggle into strategy. Awareness is the flashlight that helps you navigate the dark corridors of your own mind. It shows you the corners you've avoided, the beliefs you've inherited, the fears you've been feeding. And when you see them clearly, you can clean them out. You can redesign your mental environment. You can choose better thoughts, better reactions, better responses. The goal isn't to stop thinking. It's to stop being ruled by thoughts you never questioned. Awareness puts you back in the driver's seat. It allows you to live with direction instead of drift. It's what turns confusion into clarity and reaction into choice. So, take a little time each day to simply observe. Don't rush. Don't judge. Just watch. Watch how your mind moves. Watch what it says when you're challenged, when you're tired, when you're inspired. The more aware you become, the more control you gain. And soon, you'll realize your thoughts don't have to run you. You can guide them, shape them, and use them. Because awareness, once developed, gives you the power to choose the life you truly want to live. The mind is always hungry. It feeds on whatever you give it, and it grows from whatever you allow in. Just like the body needs food to stay alive, the mind needs ideas, knowledge, inspiration, and truth to stay sharp. But here's the challenge. Most people are feeding their minds junk food. They live on a steady diet of gossip, negativity, complaints, and distractions. Then they wonder why they feel drained, confused, and uninspired. You can't expect to live a strong life with a weak diet. What you feed your mind today will shape your thoughts tomorrow and your future the day after that. Now, here's something to think about. Your mind doesn't know the difference between what's true and what's false. It just absorbs what you tell it. Feed it garbage long enough, and it'll believe the garbage. Feed it wisdom, and it'll believe in growth. The mind simply reflects the quality of what you put in. So the big question is, what are you feeding your mind? Every word you hear, every conversation you entertain, every piece of information you consume becomes food for thought. And not all food nourishes. Some poisons slowly destroy your spirit without you even noticing. You see, the problem isn't that people lack intelligence. It's that they've been feeding their minds with the wrong ingredients. You can't keep listening to complaints and expect to think like a winner. You can't keep watching chaos and expect to live with peace. You can't fill your mind with nonsense all day and expect clarity to show up when you need it. The mind can only draw from what you've stored in it. Garbage in, garbage out. Wisdom in, wisdom out. The truth is, your environment is a buffet. Every day offers a menu of thoughts, opinions, and influences. Discipline decides what you put on your plate. Some people grab everything in sight. They consume every headline, every rumor, every emotional reaction. Others are selective. They choose carefully what deserves space in their mind. That's the difference between mental confusion and mental clarity. You don't have to consume everything that's served. You have the right to choose. When you start feeding your mind with the right material, everything begins to change. You start thinking better, making better choices, speaking with more conviction, and walking with more confidence. The right ideas create energy. They strengthen your perspective, build your resilience, and keep your emotions steady. A well-fed mind is calm, focused, and creative. It's not easily shaken by the noise of the world. Now, let's talk about how subtle the wrong food can be. It's not always obvious. Sometimes it comes disguised as entertainment. Sometimes it shows up as a conversation that feels harmless. But every word carries a vibration. Every image has an impact. Over time, those small, unnoticed influences shape the way you see yourself and the world. That's why awareness is so important. You must learn to filter what enters your mental space. Protect it like you'd protect your home. You wouldn't let someone dump trash in your living room. So don't let them dump it in your mind. And remember, feeding the mind isn't just about avoiding the bad, it's also about seeking the good. Read something that lifts your thinking. Listen to people who challenge your growth, not those who drag you down. Study success, not failure. Learn from experience, yours and others. The more you fill your mind with wisdom, the less room there is for worry. The more you feed it strength, the less it craves weakness. Your thoughts begin to change flavor. They become rich, powerful, full of life. You can always tell what a person's been feeding their mind by what comes out of their mouth. Words are the fruit of thought. If someone constantly speaks doubt, negativity, and excuses, that's a sign of what's been growing inside. But if they speak vision, hope, and encouragement, you know they've been nourishing themselves with the right food. Whatever's in the heart eventually finds its way to the tongue. Sometimes people say, well, I don't have time to read or listen to good content. But think about this. You always find time to eat, don't you? Because you know the body can't survive without food. The same is true for the mind. If you don't feed it something positive, it'll feed itself on whatever it finds lying around. And usually, what's lying around isn't good. That's why most people end up consuming mental junk by default. They never plan their mental diet, so their environment decides it for them. Feeding your mind with quality is an act of self-respect. It's telling yourself, I deserve better thoughts, better ideas, better understanding. Every time you choose growth over gossip, you're strengthening your future. Every time you spend an hour learning, instead of complaining, you're sharpening your tools. That's how great lives are built, one meal of wisdom at a time. And here's something powerful. The mind develops a taste for what you feed it. At first, it might resist good food. It might crave the easy, sugary stuff, scrolling, noise, and comfort. But stay consistent, and soon it'll start craving learning, reflection, and peace. That's when transformation happens. You'll find yourself drawn to better conversations, better company, better choices. You'll start losing interest in negativity because your appetite has changed. So, feed your mind as if your future depends on it, because it does. If you fill it with excellence, excellence will flow out. If you fill it with truth, truth will guide your steps. The mind only reflects what it's been fed, and the quality of your life will always mirror the quality of your mental diet. Feed it right, and you'll live right. Emotion is energy. It's raw, powerful, alive, and it can either build your life or break it down. The secret is not to suppress it, but to direct it. You can't live without emotion, but you can learn to use it instead of letting it use you. Most people are at the mercy of their emotions. They let anger drive their words, fear shape their choices, and sadness control their days. But emotions are meant to serve, not to rule. They're tools, not masters. When you learn to guide that energy, your life begins to take a new shape. Let's talk about that word. Energy. Every emotion carries it. Anger has energy, so does love. Fear, passion, joy, they all bring a charge. But the direction of that charge is up to you. Anger, for instance, can destroy or it can drive. Fear can paralyze or it can protect. Excitement can make you reckless or make you bold. The emotion itself isn't the problem. It's what you do with it. Just like fire can warm your house or burn it down, emotions can build your future or ruin your peace. You decide how to use the flame. Now, here's something interesting. People often say, "I can't help how I feel." That's not entirely true. You can't stop a feeling from arriving, but you can choose whether it stays. Emotions are visitors, they come and go. But some people invite them to move in, unpack their bags, and take over the whole house. You have to learn to greet the emotion, listen to its message, and then send it on its way. That's control. That's maturity. The first step is awareness. Catch the emotion the moment it shows up. Don't let it sneak past you. When anger rises, notice it. When fear whispers, listen carefully. Ask yourself, what is this feeling trying to tell me? Every emotion carries information. Anger might be showing you where your boundaries were crossed. Fear might be reminding you to prepare. Sadness might be asking you to let go. Emotions aren't enemies, they're messengers. But they were never meant to drive the car. You take the wheel. When you learn to direct emotion, you turn your energy into progress. Imagine taking that same anger you once wasted on arguments and using it to fuel your goals. Imagine transforming fear into focus and pain into purpose. That's when emotion becomes your greatest ally. It gives your actions passion, your words power, and your vision fire. You can't inspire anyone without emotion. You can't lead love or create without it. But when emotion runs wild, it clouds judgment and kills reason. Balance is everything. There's a difference between feeling and feeding. Feelings happen naturally, but feeding them is a choice. When you keep replaying what made you angry, you're feeding anger. When you keep picturing what could go wrong, you're feeding fear. Whatever emotion you feed becomes stronger. So be careful what you nurture. If you want peace, feed calm thoughts. If you want courage, feed faith. If you want joy, feed gratitude. Your emotions grow in the soil of your attention. Sometimes people think control means suppression. They bottle up their emotions, pretend everything's fine, and hope it disappears. But that's not control, that's denial. You can't master what you ignore. Real control comes from acknowledgement and redirection. When you say, "Yes, I'm upset," you own it. Then you ask, "How can I use this?" You take that same energy and channel it into something productive. That's turning emotion into power. Here's something powerful to remember. Emotion gives color to your life. Without it, you'd be a machine, going through motions without meaning. It's emotion that makes you care, that pushes you to improve, that moves you to act. But you must learn to manage its intensity. Too much excitement can make you impulsive. Too much sadness can make you stagnant. Too much fear can freeze you. Too much anger can blind you. Moderation is wisdom. The best of life comes from emotions that are felt deeply but controlled wisely. You can train your emotional muscles just like physical ones. Every time you resist the urge to overreact, you get stronger. Every time you stay calm under pressure, you build endurance. Every time you choose kindness over irritation, you grow in power. Emotional control doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you feel, but you decide what happens next. That's what separates strength from weakness. Think of emotion as a river. If it flows wild and uncontained, it floods everything. But if you dig a channel, that same river can turn turbines, water crops, and create power. The current doesn't change, the direction does. That's what control does. It channels emotion towards something meaningful. So instead of wasting energy on things that don't matter, invest it in things that do. Sometimes it takes failure or heartbreak to learn this. You lose your temper, you say things you regret, and you realize emotion without direction costs too much. But every mistake can teach control. Every outburst can become a lesson. Over time, you'll find that peace isn't the absence of emotion, it's the mastery of it. You'll still feel everything, but nothing will control you. The strongest people aren't the ones who never feel fear or anger. They're the ones who use those feelings as fuel. They know how to transform emotion into motion. They take the energy of frustration and turn it into focus. They take disappointment and turn it into determination. That's how you grow. So don't fight your emotions. Don't curse them or hide from them. Understand them. Listen to them. Then lead them. Because emotion, when properly directed, becomes power in motion. And that kind of power can move mountains, build dreams, and create a life you're proud to live. Discipline is the bridge between thought and achievement, between intention and reality. It's the quiet force that turns knowledge into results, desire into progress, and dreams into destiny. You can think big, plan hard, and visualize all day long, but without discipline, nothing happens. Discipline is the glue that holds your goals together when motivation fades. It's the muscle that keeps you going when excitement wears off. Most people start with fire in their eyes, but it's discipline that keeps the fire burning when the wind of life starts to blow. Let's face it, everyone feels inspired at the beginning. It's easy to start. The challenge is to stay. The first day at the gym, the first page of a new book, the first step in a new direction, it all feels good. But it's day 20, day 90, or year 2 that tests you. Discipline is what makes you show up when no one's watching, when no one's cheering, when no one even cares. That's when character is built. It's not built on the stage of applause. It's built in the quiet repetition of doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. See, the mind is like a wild horse. It wants to run wherever it pleases, chase every distraction, and stop when it's tired. Discipline is the hand on the reins. It says, no, we're not stopping now. We're not quitting here. We're not turning back. It's that inner voice that says, I promised myself I'd do this, and I will. Discipline doesn't always feel good, but it always feels right afterward. There's pride in keeping your own word to yourself. There's power in consistency. People often wait for the right mood to take action. But discipline doesn't wait for mood. It creates it. When you act with discipline, your emotions eventually fall in line. You can't rely on feelings to guide your progress because feelings are unreliable guests. They show up late and leave early. Discipline is the one that stays. It shows up whether it's raining or sunny, whether you're tired or inspired. And every time you obey discipline over comfort, you grow stronger. Discipline is a form of respect for your own potential. When you discipline your mind, you're saying, my future is worth more than this moment. You stop trading long-term gain for short-term pleasure. You stop feeding distractions and start feeding destiny. Because discipline is not punishment, it's preparation. Every time you say no to laziness, you're saying yes to success. Every time you choose effort over ease, you're making a deposit into the bank of your future. And one day, those deposits start paying dividends. You've probably noticed that discipline doesn't happen by accident. You don't stumble into good habits, you design them. You build structure around your goals. You plan your days before they plan you. You set boundaries for your time, for your mind, and even for your emotions. That's discipline in motion. when you take control of the small things so the big things don't control you. Now, here's the truth. Most people don't like to hear discipline demands sacrifice. You can't have everything. You must choose. You can't have comfort and growth at the same time. You can't have distraction and focus at the same time. Every yes you give means no to something else. Discipline is the art of choosing what matters most. And when you consistently choose your future over your comfort, you begin to win the long game. Think about a farmer. He wakes up before the sun, not because it's easy, but because the crops won't grow without his effort. He plows the field, sows the seed, waters the soil, and waits day after day. He doesn't see results instantly, but he keeps working because he knows that discipline brings harvest. The mind works the same way. The seeds of thoughts, habits, and effort take time to grow. You can't skip the waiting, but you can control the working. And discipline keeps you working even when you don't yet see the fruit. There's also a beautiful irony in discipline. The more disciplined you become, the freer you feel. Most think discipline is restriction. It's actually liberation. When you control your habits, you free yourself from chaos. When you manage your time, you free yourself from pressure. When you master your mind, you free yourself from regret. Discipline isn't a cage, it's a key. It unlocks the door to a life of clarity and purpose. But make no mistake, discipline doesn't come naturally. It's trained. It's built through repetition. It's forged in small, daily victories. You win the war of discipline one morning at a time, one choice at a time, one promise kept at a time. The reward isn't just success, it's self-respect. You start to trust yourself. You start to believe that when you say you'll do something, you will. And that belief changes everything. Every great life you admire is a product of quiet discipline. Behind every success story are years of unseen effort, hours of self-control, and countless moments of saying, not yet, or keep going. Discipline is the invisible force that writes visible results. It's not loud, but it's lasting. It doesn't shout, it shows. So train your mind like an athlete trains his body. Push it, challenge it, demand more of it. Because the moment you start mastering your mind, you stop being a victim of circumstance. You start to create your own weather. You stop being tossed by the waves and start steering the ship. That's the gift of discipline. It gives you direction in a world full of distraction. When discipline becomes part of you, success stops being accidental. It becomes inevitable. Because with discipline, every small effort compounds, every little step counts, and every day becomes a brick in the foundation of the life you're building. And that's the kind of power that turns ordinary people into extraordinary achievers. The quiet, steady, relentless power of a disciplined mind. Life is a constant battle between the mind you have and the mind you are building. The journey of mastering your mind isn't about perfection. It's about progress. It's about learning to think with purpose, to feed your thoughts with quality, to guide your emotions with wisdom, and to keep your focus steady in a world that constantly pulls it away. The mind is the master architect of your destiny, and if you don't control it, it will control you. We've seen that everything begins in the mind. Your thoughts build the foundation of your attitude, your habits, your actions, and ultimately, your results. You can't plant seeds of doubt and expect a harvest of confidence. You can't water fear and hope for courage to grow. Life simply doesn't work that way. What you think about consistently, you become. And when you take responsibility for your thoughts, you take control of your future. It starts with awareness, understanding that not every thought deserves your attention, not every emotion deserves your energy, and not every distraction deserves your time. You must become the guardian of your own mind. Protect it like it's the most valuable thing you own, because it is. Everything else can be taken from you, but your thoughts, your mindset, and your attitude are yours to command. Then comes the discipline, the quiet daily work of training your mind to serve you instead of sabotage you. Discipline is the hinge that turns potential into power. It's what helps you do what's necessary when it's inconvenient, what keeps you learning when others stop, and what reminds you that excellence isn't built in a moment. It's built in a mindset. The quality of your life will always reflect the quality of your thinking. If you think small, you live small. If you think weak, you live weak. But when you think with clarity, purpose, and belief, you begin to rise above the noise. You stop being tossed around by circumstance and start designing the direction of your life. That's the power of a controlled mind. It doesn't react, it responds. It doesn't crumble under pressure. It creates solutions. It doesn't follow the crowd, it leads itself. So, here's the final truth: the mind is both your best servant and your worst master. Feed it well, train it daily, discipline it constantly, and it will work wonders for you. But neglect it, and it will quietly build your limitations instead of your legacy. The choice every single day is yours. Will you let your mind wander where it pleases, or will you teach it where to go? Will you feed it distractions or wisdom? Will you drift or will you drive? Because the moment you decide to master your mind, you begin to master your life. And that, my friend, is where real freedom begins. The freedom to think clearly, act boldly, and live intentionally. That's not just success. That's power. The kind of power that can change everything